Hey everybody, this is Kathy, Crowder's Mountain, North Carolina. Welcome back for part 2 of our cathedral window. In part 1, I showed you how to draw out the pattern. And now I drew my pattern on my board. And I always use the heat erasable pens. So all this work here is not going to interfere with my painting. I'm going to get rid of it as I go, and I'll be showing you that. But this is the first video that I'm going to do. Well, this is going to be a trial. I'll put it that way. The first part that you just saw, part 1, was me showing you how to draw the pattern. Now, I've drawn it on my board, and I'm going to show you in part 2 how I paint and the tools that I use and that sort of thing. So this is going to be a trial to see if you guys like it better when I do part 1 and part 2, or just do a 30-minute video about the pattern and show you the finished result, and that'd be the end of it. So this is going to take a little bit more work to do it this way, so I'm not going to put up a video every week. It'll be like every other week. So let's try that for a little while and see how that goes. So anyway, here's our cathedral window, and I've already got it drawn on my board, like I said. And before I drew it on my board, I prepped my board with Kills 3, and I did it front and back and the sides. You'll see that. And I put 2 coats on the front and 2 coats on the side. But I only did 1 on the back. This particular wood is that MDO Max Medium Density Overlay. Medium? Yeah, that's right. Anyway, it is made with the resin, so it's sign board. It's what sign painters use all the time to make signs with. So that's what this is for, and it's exterior anyway. But I always put a coat of primer, 2 coats on the front and 1 on the back. So sometimes I paint the back another color, but most of the time I don't. But before I get to painting, I'm going to show you how I do the back. Okay, so here you go. This is what I'm doing on the back. Now, I've just started doing this. But when I'm painting a barn quilt, I've got it up on my Lazy Susan. When I'm painting it, I'm bad to stick my hands under it. So a lot of times you'll see little fingerprints and where I've got it messed up on the back. And so I started putting tape. This just any kind of painter's tape, and you can use it over and over again. Flip it around, whatever. Anyway, I put this on the back of it, so that way when I touch it, I'm touching this instead of my board. And another thing I'm hoping that this helps is, when you're putting your sealer on, and sometime it'll drip underneath and kind of get clumpy on the bottom. Now I try to take I always wear gloves when I'm doing that, and I'll take my glove and kind of go around the bottom of it. But sometime it'll keep running after you've finished and you've gone away letting it dry. It'll still drip a little bit and get on the bottom. So I'm hoping that that'll take care of that too. I'll let you know about that. So anyway, let's get to painting our cathedral ceiling. Cathedral window. I don't want to be painting those ceilings. So the first thing I'll say is, yay, we don't have to tape around that circle. This circle and this circle is just guidelines. So we don't have to tape around it. Now, I guess you could if you wanted to, but we're not going to. I don't know how I guess it would look like a cathedral porthole if you taped around it. Probably be pretty, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to paint our cathedral window, and we'll figure out our border and background later. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I'm taping up the star in the middle, and I'm only taping up 4 of the points at a time. This is going to be the dark yellow and the light yellow. So instead of taping up all 8 of the darker yellow, I'm just doing 4 at a time. It just was easier that way. But now on our, let's see, that was our 1, 2, 3, it's like the 4th layer of diamonds that we placed in here. I'm going around and taping all of the right sides, because that will be our darkest yellow, and I think I can tape them all up and do all of those at one time. So I'm just taping it up, and most of you guys have already taped up barn quilt, so you probably don't need to be told how to do that, but just in case. You see that? And how easy it is to cut with that little razor. And I'm going to go all the way around doing that on the right sides. And then I've got to get my card out here. When I get through taping it up, I'm going to just burnish it down. Make sure I got the tape. You know, I put it down with my finger, but I always like to go back over it and make sure it's burnished down. And then I take my heat tool once I plug it up and get rid of my heat erasable pen marks. So I'll show you that in just a minute. Let me go ahead and tape up all of that first. Okay, while I was taping it up, I wanted to mention this to you. I may have already said this in other videos, I'm not sure. But when you draw in your line, you see how I got that line off a little bit here? Fix it with your tape. Make sure your tape is in that corner, or down where it's supposed to be, because that's what's going to give you your crisp, sharp corners that don't overlap and they meet in the right spots. See how I got that one right, but I got that one off. This one's right. So it's easy to just lay the tape down where your line is, but as you're doing that, just be careful and fix your boo-boo with your tape. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, here's something else. You see all these lines? That's my heat erasable pen. But when I tried to draw my circles with my heat erasable pen, I couldn't get it to work. I don't know what was going on with it. But I tried and couldn't get it to do it, so I used a regular pencil. And that's what I used to do all the time. Well, now I want you to see this. Let me get that other eraser over here. So watch me get rid of those red lines with my heating tool. See, it's called M Life, and it's only 300 watts. Alright, so watch me get rid of those lines. See how they're going away? But the pencil didn't go away. So I have to take this eraser and try to get rid of it, which it's just leaving trash. And it's not going to get rid of that pencil. And I've had the erasable colored pencils too, and they don't go away either. So with that being yellow, it's going to show up if I don't do something. So I'm going to stick just a tiny little bit of Kills over top of this all the way around. And I'll have to do it up here too, probably, to get rid of that. All the other ones, thank the Lord, are heat erasable lines. So it's just going to be those. So I'm not going to bore y'all with putting that little bit of Kills on here. But I'll be back. Now that you saw me, I showed you how I taped that up. And I went over it with my card already. And I'm getting rid of, there's another one. Alright, so I know I can't get rid of that with my heat tool, so I'm going to put the Kills on, and when that's dry I'll paint it, and I'll be back to show you. Mercy, look at this. With that yellow frog tape, you can't tell what you've painted and what's tape. I'm letting it dry just for a second longer, and then I'm going to pull it up. But it's hard to tell when you're painting that. Okay, what I'm doing, when I'm pulling this up, I'm pulling it away from my paint. And don't try to get in too big a hurry, because, let me get that off. When you go to pull it, if you see it start pulling on you, stop right then. And just put your razor down on top of it like that. And then you can pull it off without it peeling. That helps a little bit. But the main thing is just don't get your paint too thick. It's got to be real thin layers. See how that came off? And then I'm going to use this to go right here again in just a few minutes when I get all the rest of it peeled off. So I don't know how much of me taping and painting and cutting and that kind of thing that y'all want to see. So I may not do all of it. It's kind of hard to see what's on top and what's on the bottom when everything is yellow. This one might not have been the right one for me to show you. So I'm just pulling it away from the tape, away from the paint. And I need to find something else to stick some of this tape on, because I'm not going to have enough room on my board. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and paint. I'm going to go ahead and pull all that up. And then I'll show you how I put my how I paint this section. Oh, you can't see that. How I paint this section beside of the yellow. This one will be the light yellow. That color, by the way, was English Daisy, but don't worry about that. I'll show it to you at the end. I'll show it to you. Or I'll tell you what all the colors were. Okay, let me finish that, pulling that up. And I got to finish the other 4 points to the star. And I may show you how I tape that up. I'll be back in a minute. So I want to tell you this before I forget it. You know how I had to use the pencil because I couldn't get my heat erasable pens to work going in a circle like that. So I put the Kills on the pencil. But what I want to say is make sure when you're putting the keels on or anything like that that you're covering up, make sure you flatten that paint out. Don't leave big streaks and gobs. Just flatten it all out. You know, just keep painting until it's flat. Because you want a pretty surface for your background to go on too. You don't want it lumpy. But that's just a little tip there. I'll be back in a little while. So I don't know if you can see this or not, but I think you can. Just a little tip here. I am trying to do all the dark blue at the same time. Well, when you're looking at a pattern like that, it can get kind of confusing as to which side of your shape that you need to paint. So what I did, I just marked it blue. I marked all 4 of these blue. And then I went back and I'm working with the dark blue, so I just made a check mark right here so that I could make sure I stayed on track. This one is the one going to the right will be the darker blue. So you can spin it around like that and get it right, but if you wanted to, you could just, you know, again with the heat erasable pens that you don't have to worry about leaving a mark. I just put the little check mark there. So I'll be back in just a little while. So you see what I mean? I put the check mark there and I'm taking my heat tool, since I used the heat erasable pens, and I'm just getting rid of my marks. And once I had it taped up, I didn't need that anymore, so I'm ready to paint it now. And I've already taken my card and pressed them down, so I'm good to go. See you in a minute. Okay, I wanted to tell you something real quick. It's another little tip. People ask how you get your corners and your angles just right, that they're not longer than the other one, but they meet just exactly perfect in the corner. It's all about the taping. I can show you this now because I've already painted that dark blue. I'm getting ready to paint the lighter blue color. But I wanted to see if I could get you down into this corner really good without making you dizzy. All right, you see how I've got the tape? It's right perfectly ending at that point that I've already painted. And the same way up here. Now my lines are going to come together just perfect because I've taken the time to make sure my tape is in the right place. And I'll have some real crisp, clean angles and corners. You see I've got it this way. Okay, another little trick about the tape. Tip, not a trick. You see how I've already painted my blue. I'm getting ready to, the dark blue, and I'm getting ready to paint the light blue. Well, this tape, you know, is anywhere from, if you can find it on sale, you might could get it under $6, but sometimes it's $8 and $9. It's according to where you buy it. I try to find mine on Amazon. That's usually my cheapest price. I like my other stores now, but you know, it costs a lot of money for this tape. So you try to do the best you can. But anyway, say like I gave $8 for this roll of tape. If I flip it around and use the other side, I'm getting twice the tape for my money. Now, it may be a little bit more trouble because you got to make sure this is dry. But usually when your paint's dry and you peel that tape off, it's dry too. Now, the white is kind of flaky. When you're painting with white, it seems like it wants to flake off into the different colors, but you can just take a damp cloth and wipe that off most of the time. But anyway, just a little tip to get twice the mileage out of your roll of tape is to flip it around and use the other side. But anyway, I'm gonna press my tape down on all of my sides. And this is called burnishing, so if you hear anybody say burnish your tape, that's what this is. So I've got it pressed down good, and I'm going to paint the light blue, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. We're getting there. It's always the scariest part when you're pulling the tape off, especially reds, oranges. Seems like it's always if it's gonna mess up, that's the colors it's gonna mess up. Okay, 3 out of 4. Still got a little white line right here. I think I knew that was going to happen because I didn't get over far enough when I was putting the tape down for that one. I don't know if you can see that little white line or not. It's just a little tad. I can fix it. Okay, I think the next color I'm going to put on there is purple. And I'll be back when that's finished. Okay. That's not looking bad. All right. On to the purple. Look at her, y'all. She's getting there. Let me tell you why I hadn't painted this yet. When I was painting this, because that's so thin, it started pulling on me. So I thought, I'm going to let that dry overnight before I even try to put the rest of the color. I need the light yellow in here in those 4 spots. So I'm not really going to even deal with that until I got all the other colors on here. So I've got the blue, the red, and the purple, and the yellows done except for that. I'm going to do the orange next, and I think we'll be finished. And I'm probably going to do, I don't know what color I'm going to put on the back. White probably, because I don't want anything taken away from that. But black would be pretty too, wouldn't it? I had to keep thinking on it. And listen, before I forget, you know, I'm always saying subscribe and join the fun and that kind of thing. But it would also help me if you guys would tell me what you want to see. Like, okay, now I showed you the pattern, and this part is just some tips and tricks on how to paint and how to tape and that sort of thing. But if something crossed your mind and I didn't say it, if you'd leave me a comment below, then it would help me to know what I might need to say the next time to help somebody. Like, this is my favorite paintbrushes to date. You know, I'm not saying I won't change my mind later. But those plaid paintbrushes, here's my package. It says plaid. It's angle brush set. And there's 5 brushes in here. And I've got one over there soaking. But the one that says 5/8 is my very favorite size. And this one is 3/4 inch. And so I'll probably use it around the outside of this cathedral window. I'm not sure. Might use a bigger one. But anyway, just help me out if you can think of anything that I should have said that I didn't say, that you wanted to know that I didn't tell you. Just leave me a comment below. And I'll be back when I get all the orange on and when I get this finished. Talk to you later. Okay, here she is. All except the border and the background. So I'm not sure what color I need to put on there. I've looked around at what other folks have done, and I see like off-white and white. So I think I'm going to let it rest for the rest of the day. I'm not going to touch it anymore. And then I'll come back and touch up the touch-ups that I didn't see to touch up today. And so maybe by tomorrow I'll have it figured out what color background. But if you've already seen the first of the video, y'all know what color I picked, right? See y'all tomorrow.